Do you ever feel like you're living inside a story that someone else wrote? That despite your best intentions, you keep playing out roles that don't quite fit, or reacting to situations in ways that surprise even yourself? We often believe we're masters of our own narratives, the conscious authors of our lives. But what if I told you that beneath the surface of our awareness, powerful, unseen narratives are constantly shaping our thoughts, emotions, and even our most important relationships? These aren't just personal stories. They are echoes of collective experience, whispers from our past, and the silent assumptions we absorb from the world around us. They are the unseen forces that can turn a simple conversation into a minefield, a shared dream into a silent conflict, or even a moment of genuine connection into a breeding ground for misunderstanding. Philosophers and psychologists throughout history have grappled with this very idea: the subtle yet profound influence of the unexamined on our waking lives. From ancient wisdom traditions speaking of karma and destiny, to modern existentialists highlighting the weight of societal expectations, the thread remains. We are not as free from external or internal influence as we often presume. And it is precisely in this unseen interplay where both our greatest vulnerabilities and our deepest potentials lie. Today, we're going to dive into the echo chamber of the self, a concept that helps us understand how these unseen narratives operate, how they can subtly distort our reality, and crucially, how we can begin to identify and perhaps even rewrite them. This isn't about blaming external forces. It's about empowering ourselves to recognize the silent scripts that govern our interactions and reclaim our agency. So take a deep breath, because by the end of this journey, you might just see your relationships, your struggles, and even yourself in a profoundly new light. Let's begin with the first unseen narrative, the inherited script. From the moment we are born, we inherit not just genes, but also stories. These are the unspoken rules, the deeply ingrained beliefs, and the emotional patterns passed down through our families, communities, and cultures. Think of them as the foundational operating system upon which your personal story is built. For example, a family that has always valued stoicism might unintentionally teach its members to repress difficult emotions, creating a narrative where vulnerability is seen as weakness. Or a culture that prioritizes collective harmony above all else might instill a narrative of self-sacrifice, making it difficult for individuals to pursue their own desires. The danger here is that these inherited scripts often operate below the level of conscious awareness. You might find yourself instinctively reacting to situations in ways that mirror a parent's fear, a grandparent's resilience, or a community's prejudice, without ever having made a conscious choice to do so. You're playing a role in a drama that began long before you arrived, and your lines are already written. Philosophers like Friedrich Nietzsche explored the profound impact of inherited morality and societal values on individual freedom. He argued that we often internalize the herd mentality, mistaking culturally imposed norms for universal truths. He challenged us to question these inherited scripts, to undertake a revaluation of all values, and to create our own meaning. The key to recognizing the inherited script is to observe your own knee-jerk reactions, your unexamined assumptions, and the recurring emotional patterns that don't quite feel like you. Are you constantly striving for approval, mirroring a family narrative of external validation? Do you avoid conflict at all costs, echoing a past generation's need for peace at any price? These are the clues to the stories you've inherited. Next, we encounter the projected persona. We all wear masks, in different social contexts, at work, with friends, with family. We present different versions of ourselves. This isn't inherently negative. It's a necessary social adaptation, a way to navigate complex human interactions. This is what Carl Jung termed the persona, the social mask we adopt. However, the danger arises when we become identified with the mask, when the persona becomes less a tool and more a prison, trapping our authentic self beneath layers of expectation and performance. We stop having a persona and start being the persona. The projected persona comes into play when we not only maintain our own mask, but also project an idealized or distorted version of others onto them, expecting them to conform to our narrative. We might see a colleague as the reliable one and unintentionally burden them with extra work, or label a friend as the optimistic one and dismiss their moments of genuine sadness. This happens because our own unacknowledged qualities, both positive and negative, often get projected onto others. If we suppress our own anger, we might perceive others as excessively aggressive. If we deny our own creativity, we might idealize or resent those who express theirs freely. Michel Foucault, a post-structuralist philosopher, deeply explored how societal norms and power structures create subjectivities, how we become the kind of person society expects us to be. He argued that even our sense of self is, to a large extent, constructed by the discourses and narratives prevalent in our culture. The projected persona is a personal manifestation of this societal construction. The insidious nature of the projected persona is that it often feels like we're being good or helpful. We're supporting a friend or relying on a colleague. But in reality, we're subtly forcing them into a role within our internal script, denying their multifaceted humanity. And when they inevitably fail to live up to our projected ideal, we feel betrayed, confused, or even angry, without understanding that the blueprint for their failure was our own rigid expectation. Recognizing this narrative means challenging your first impressions, looking beyond labels, and actively seeking to understand others as complex, evolving individuals, not just characters in your own mental drama. Now, let's confront the echo of unresolved conflict. Life is rarely a smooth journey. We encounter disappointments, betrayals, losses, and moments of profound injustice. How we process these experiences, or fail to process them, forms another powerful unseen narrative, the echo of unresolved conflict. When a conflict, be it with a parent, a former partner, or a past version of ourselves, remains unaddressed, unacknowledged, or unforgiven, it doesn't simply disappear. It reverberates in the background of our psyche, a silent alarm system constantly searching for similar patterns in the present. This is why a seemingly trivial disagreement with a friend can suddenly escalate into a furious outburst, fueled by the unresolved anger from a decade-old betrayal. Or why a gentle critique from a partner might trigger a deep-seated feeling of worthlessness, echoing childhood experiences of inadequacy. The complexed person, as Jung might call them, is often a prisoner of these echoes, They are not reacting to you in the present moment. They are reacting to the phantom of a past injury, a wound that has never been allowed to heal. And the most dangerous part, they often don't realize it. They genuinely believe their reaction is proportional to the current situation. Existential philosophers like Jean-Paul Sartre emphasized the weight of our past choices and how they shape our freedom in the present. While we are condemned to be free, our freedom is often constrained by the narratives we create around our past experiences. The echo of unresolved conflict is a prime example of how past constraints can unconsciously limit our present choices and interactions. Living with someone trapped in this echo chamber is like walking on emotional eggshells. You become hyper-vigilant, constantly trying to avoid triggering the unseen wound. But here's the crucial point. You didn't create that wound, and you cannot heal it for them. Your efforts to placate or avoid only reinforce the idea that you are responsible for their internal pain, deepening the cycle. The path out of this narrative involves courageous self-reflection and, sometimes, professional support to truly confront and integrate past wounds. For those interacting with someone caught in this echo, it requires setting clear boundaries and refusing to be drawn into their unresolved drama. Fourth, we delve into the narrative of scarcity. This unseen narrative tells us that there isn't enough. Not enough love, not enough success, not enough attention, not enough happiness. It's a deep-seated belief, often formed early in life through experiences of lack or perceived deprivation, that there's a finite pie of resources, and if someone else gets a slice, there's less for us. This narrative manifests in countless subtle ways. It can turn generosity into a calculated exchange, transform genuine support into veiled competition, and make collaboration feel like a zero-sum game. When someone is operating from a narrative of scarcity, they might constantly seek validation, needing to be the best or the most loved, because they believe there's only a limited amount of praise or affection to go around. They might become jealous of your successes, not because they wish you ill, but because your gain feels like their loss. Philosophers concerned with social justice, like John Rawls, have addressed the societal implications of perceived scarcity and its impact on equitable distribution. While Rawls focused on institutional structures, the narrative of scarcity highlights its psychological dimension, demonstrating how deeply ingrained beliefs about limited resources can drive individual behavior and create interpersonal friction. The psychic cost of this narrative is immense. It fosters resentment, breeds comparison, and cripples authentic connection. It creates a dynamic where every interaction is subconsciously measured against a hidden ledger of who has what and who is winning. Recognizing the narrative of scarcity within yourself means questioning your competitive impulses, your jealousy, and your fears of missing out. For others, it means understanding that their possessiveness or envy often stems from a deep-seated belief in lack rather than a deliberate malice towards you. You cannot fill their void, but you can choose not to participate in their scarcity game. Fifth, we uncover the grand story of the future. We are fundamentally creatures of narrative. We create stories about our past, our present, and, crucially, our future. The grand story of the future is the compelling, often rigid narrative we construct about how our lives should unfold. It's our ideal vision, our deeply held expectations for success, happiness, and validation. While having goals is healthy, this narrative becomes dangerous when it becomes absolute, when our happiness is entirely dependent on this precise future unfolding, and anything that deviates from it is met with profound disappointment, anger, or even a complete meltdown. People operating under this grand narrative can be incredibly driven, but also incredibly rigid and intolerant of anything that disrupts their predetermined path. They might impose their future vision onto others, expecting family members to follow certain career paths, or friends to adhere to specific life choices that align with their ideal. Existentialists, particularly Albert Camus, highlighted the inherent absurdity of seeking ultimate meaning or a predetermined grand story in a universe that offers none. He urged us to embrace the present moment, to find meaning in revolt against this absurdity, rather than clinging to a pre-written script of the future. The grand story of the future, when rigid, traps us in a narrative of what should be rather than what is. The danger is not just for the individual holding this narrative, but for those around them. You might feel immense pressure to conform, to play a part in their grand story, or to walk on eggshells to avoid disrupting their fragile vision. Your own dreams and desires might be subtly dismissed or even actively undermined if they don't fit into their pre-approved script. Recognizing this narrative means practicing radical acceptance of the present moment and the unpredictable nature of life. It means holding your future visions lightly, as guides rather than rigid dictates. For others, it means refusing to be cast as a supporting character in their unyielding drama and affirming your own right to write your own future. Finally, we address perhaps the most subtle and pervasive of all: the narrative of the unseen wound. This narrative is born from our deepest, often unacknowledged pains. It's the story we tell ourselves about our own unworthiness, our fundamental brokenness, or our inherent flaws. It's the whisper that says, "I am not enough. I am unlovable. I am always going to be alone." These aren't conscious thoughts, but pervasive emotional undercurrents that shape our interactions. When someone is dominated by the narrative of the unseen wound, they might unconsciously push away connection, convinced they don't deserve it. They might self-sabotage success, believing they're not capable of handling it. Or they might constantly seek external validation, but never truly absorb it, because the internal narrative of unworthiness overrides any positive feedback. This narrative often leads to repeated patterns of behavior, almost as if the individual is unconsciously trying to prove their own flawed narrative to be true. They might choose partners who confirm their unlovability, or gravitate towards situations that reinforce their sense of inadequacy. Philosophers like Arthur Schopenhauer, with his concept of the will, touched upon these deeper, often irrational drives within us that compel us towards certain experiences, even painful ones. The narrative of the unseen wound is a powerful manifestation of this unconscious will to confirm a negative self-perception. Living with someone governed by this narrative is heartbreaking. You might pour endless love, support, and affirmation into them, only to see it deflected, dismissed, or even twisted into further evidence of their inadequacy. It's like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom. The danger for you is that you can become drained, perpetually trying to fix or heal their unseen wound. You might internalize their pain, believing that their struggle is your responsibility, and that their inability to accept your love means something is wrong with your love. Recognizing this narrative requires immense compassion, both for yourself and for the other person. It means understanding that this is not about you, but about a deeply ingrained story they are telling themselves. Your role is not to heal them, but to hold firm to your own worth, to set boundaries, and to gently encourage them to seek internal healing rather than expecting you to be their constant emotional reservoir. So, what do we do with these unseen narratives? How do we navigate the echo chamber of the self, both within ourselves and in our interactions with others? The first step, as we've explored, is awareness. We cannot change what we do not acknowledge. Pay attention to your own knee-jerk reactions, your disproportionate emotions, and the recurring patterns in your relationships. Ask yourself, is this truly my reaction, or an echo of something deeper? Am I seeing this person as they are, or through the lens of a projected ideal? Second, practice self-reflection and inquiry. This isn't just about thinking. It's about deep, honest questioning. Where did this belief come from? Who taught me this? What fear or unhealed wound might be driving this behavior in myself or others? Journaling, meditation, and even therapeutic conversations can be invaluable tools here. Third, cultivate radical acceptance. This means accepting the complex, imperfect reality of yourself and others. It means letting go of the need for perfect outcomes, ideal people, or pre-written futures. It's about embracing the messy, unpredictable nature of human experience. This doesn't mean condoning harmful behavior, but understanding its potential roots. Fourth, establish clear boundaries. This is perhaps the most crucial practical step. You are not responsible for carrying the inherited scripts, projected personas, unresolved conflicts, scarcity narratives, grand future stories, or unseen wounds of others. Protect your psychic space. Know where you end and another begins. This might mean saying no, stepping back, or even, in extreme cases, choosing to limit or end certain relationships. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, commit to writing your own narrative. This is your life. You are the protagonist. While we are influenced by countless unseen forces, we also possess the incredible capacity for self-authorship. This means actively choosing your values, defining your purpose, and living in alignment with your authentic self, even when it means deviating from the scripts you've inherited or the roles others try to assign you. The journey through the echo chamber of the self is not easy. It requires courage, honesty, and a willingness to look at the hidden corners of your own mind and the subtle dynamics of your relationships. But the reward is immense. A life lived with greater clarity, deeper authenticity, and a profound sense of liberation. You will no longer be a character in someone else's play, or an echo of forgotten narratives. You will be the conscious, compassionate, and powerful author of your own unfolding story. If this exploration has resonated with you, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button and join our community as we continue to delve into the depths of philosophy and self-discovery. Share your thoughts in the comments below. What unseen narratives have you discovered in your own life? Your insights enrich us all. Thank you for watching, and remember, the unexamined life, as Socrates reminded us, may not be worth living, but the examined life, that is where true freedom begins.